The Grand Council Hall was brighter than ever before. Tall golden pillars reached up toward a ceiling that looked like the night sky. Stars shimmered above the alien leaders as if the universe itself was watching them. Long banners of victory hung from the walls. Music echoed through the massive chamber. Tonight was not a normal meeting. Tonight was a celebration. At the center of the hall stood the Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Union. His silver robes flowed behind him as he raised his arms high. His voice carried across the chamber. Earth has fallen. Humanity is no more. The hall exploded with cheers. Different alien species filled the room. Some had scales, some had fur, some had glowing eyes, others had long metal limbs. But tonight, they all shared the same emotion. Victory. Large holographic screens floated in the air. They showed images of Earth, burning cities, broken human ships drifting in space, dark smoke rising into the sky. The human defense fleet had been destroyed 3 days ago. The last human signal had gone silent only hours earlier. The war was over, or so they believed. Many leaders laughed openly. Some raised glasses filled with bright liquid. Others clapped their claws or wings. Music grew louder. Humans were too emotional, one ambassador said. They were reckless, another replied. They thought they could challenge the galaxy. Someone added with a low chuckle. Near the back of the chamber stood a young communications officer. He was not important. He had no voice in the council. His job was simple. Watch the scanners. Report any changes. He stared at the floating data screen in front of him. Most signals were quiet now. Human channels were dark. Earth's defense grid had collapsed completely. He swallowed slowly. The data looked correct, but something felt wrong. At the center of the hall, the Chancellor continued speaking. Let this be a lesson, he said proudly. No world rises above the Council. Humanity refused to obey. Humanity refused to submit. And now, humanity is gone. More cheers. The screens changed again. Now they showed the final battle above Earth. Alien warships firing bright energy beams. Human ships exploding in flashes of white light. It had been a short battle. The humans had fought hard, harder than expected. But they had lost. Or so the report said. The young officer's screen blinked suddenly. He froze. A faint signal appeared at the edge of long-range space detection. He leaned closer. The signal was weak, almost invisible. He adjusted. The filters. It was not coming from Earth. It was not coming from the inner systems. It was coming from deep space, far beyond any known human colony. He frowned. That's strange, he whispered to himself. Behind him, laughter filled the chamber. Again, a group of military commanders were replaying the moment Earth's orbital station exploded. One of them raised a glass and shouted, "To the end of humanity!" More cheering. The officer ignored it. His screen blinked again. The faint signal doubled, then tripled. His hands moved quickly across the controls. He widened the scan radius. More signals appeared, dozens, all from the same direction, all moving fast, very fast. His breathing became heavier. These readings must be wrong, he muttered. He reset the scanner. The signals did not disappear. Instead, they multiplied, hundreds now, and growing. The officer looked up toward the center of the hall. The Chancellor was finishing his speech. The galaxy is safer tonight. We stand united. We stand victorious. Thunderous applause shook the chamber. At that same moment, the officer's screen flashed red. Warp signature detected. Then another. Then 10 more. His eyes widened. No, this can't be. He stood up quickly, knocking over his chair. The loud sound was small compared to the celebration, but it caught the attention of a nearby guard. What is it? The guard asked sharply. The officer pointed at his screen, his voice shaking. Multiple warp signatures, extreme mass readings. Approaching capital system. The guard frowned. From which faction? The officer swallowed. There is no faction code. The guard's eyes narrowed. How many ships? The officer hesitated. He checked again. The number kept rising. Thousands. The guard turned pale. At that exact second, something strange happened inside the Grand Council hall. The light changed, very slowly at first. The bright glow coming through the massive viewing window at the end of the chamber began to fade. One of the ambassadors looked back. "Why are the stars dimming?" she asked. The music slowly stopped. One by one, leaders turned toward the giant transparent wall that showed space outside the capital planet. The stars were disappearing, not blinking, not exploding, just vanishing, as if someone was placing a dark curtain across the sky. A heavy silence filled the chamber. The Chancellor lowered his arms. "What is happening?" he demanded. No one answered. Outside the window, more stars vanished. The darkness spread wider. Then, tiny lights appeared inside the darkness, small at first, then larger. Rows, lines, endless shapes forming across space. Ships, black ships, thousands of them. They were so large and so many that they blocked the light of entire star clusters behind them. Gasps echoed through the chamber. An officer near the front whispered, "That's impossible." The young communications officer stepped forward slowly. His voice trembled but carried through the silence. Long-range confirmation complete. He paused. Every eye in the chamber turned toward him. He forced himself to speak clearly. Unidentified. Fleet exiting warp. The Chancellor's face lost all color. "How many?" he asked quietly. The officer looked at the final count. His hands shook. Too many to count individually. More ships appeared. Layer after layer, an entire wall of metal and shadow covering the sky. Then, as if planned perfectly, every single ship activated its forward lights at the same time. A field of white light burned across the darkness. The celebration, decorations inside the hall suddenly felt foolish. The banners, the drinks, the music, all of it felt small. Very small. The officer whispered the final confirmation. "Origin of fleet. Confirmed." The Chancellor stared at him. "Speak." The officer took a deep breath. Human design signatures detected. Silence fell heavier than before. No one laughed now. No one moved. The Supreme Chancellor stepped slowly toward the window. His voice was barely more than air. "That is not possible. Earth has fallen." Behind the glass, one massive ship moved, forward from the center of the fleet, larger than the rest, darker than the void itself. And as it stopped directly above the capital world, the stars behind it disappeared completely. The officer's final words echoed through the hall. Earth did not fall. He looked up at the dark sky. They were waiting. And outside, the human war fleet continued to arrive. The Grand Council hall was silent. No music, no laughter, no victory banners mattered anymore. Outside the giant viewing window, the human fleet filled the sky. Black ships stretched across space like an endless wall. They were quiet. They did not fire. They simply waited. Inside the chamber, fear began to grow. But far away from the capital world, deep in hidden space, the real story had already begun months ago. Earth was never blind. Earth was never weak. Long before the war reached its final battle, human leaders had seen the truth. The Council was afraid of humanity's growth. Human colonies were spreading fast. Human technology was improving quickly. And humans refused to follow strict Council control. So the Council planned to crush them early. But humans discovered the plan. Deep under Earth's surface, in a secure command room, human generals and scientists met in secret. Large screens showed alien fleets gathering at the borders of human space. Admiral Elias Ward stood at the center of the room. He was calm. His uniform was simple. His face showed no panic. "They believe we will fight directly," one officer said. "And if we do," another replied, "we will lose." The room went quiet. Admiral Ward nodded slowly. "Yes," he said. If we fight the war they expect, we lose. He stepped closer to the screen. Alien fleets filled the map in red. So we will not fight the war they expect. The plan was simple in words, hard in action. Earth would appear to fall. Human ships would fight, but not with full strength. Civilian evacuations would begin quietly. Hidden jump routes would activate. Secret shipyards beyond known space would begin full production. Human spies would allow certain information to be discovered. Images of damaged cities, destroyed stations. False. Distress signals. Everything carefully controlled. Painful sacrifices were made. Some cities were allowed to burn to make the story believable. Some ships were truly lost. Families were separated in secret evacuations. It was not easy. But humanity understood something important. Survival was more important than pride. Back in the present, inside the council chamber, the Supreme Chancellor watched the Dark Fleet in horror. "This is a trick," one ambassador shouted, "a final act of desperation." But even as he spoke, more human ships exited warp. Their design was different from the ships destroyed above Earth. These ships were larger, stronger. Their hulls were smooth and dark, almost invisible against space. They were not old models. They were new, very new. The young communications officer received new data. "Energy readings are stable," he said slowly. "Weapon systems charged, but not locked." "They are not attacking?" another leader asked in confusion. "No," the officer answered. "They are forming a perimeter." A perimeter. Around the Council's capital world. The meaning was clear. Control. Months earlier, in deep space beyond any mapped sector, massive human shipyards worked in silence. Entire fleets were built where no alien scout had ever traveled. Asteroids were hollowed out. Gas giants were mined. Artificial stars powered hidden factories. Human engineers did not sleep much during those months. Workers knew what was at stake. Every bolt tightened, every system installed, meant survival for their species. Children were moved to protected colonies. Food supplies were expanded. Training camps filled with volunteers. Humanity prepared not just to survive, but to return. Back in the council chamber, panic began to spread. "We must fire first," a military commander shouted. "Are you insane?" Another leader replied. "Look at their numbers." The chancellor remained silent. His eyes stayed fixed on the largest human ship at the center of the fleet. It was different. Its shape was sharp and clean. A command ship. Suddenly, every screen inside the chamber flickered. The council's communication systems were overridden. Security teams rushed to their stations. But it was too late. A single symbol appeared on the main screen. The human emblem, a simple image of Earth, surrounded by stars. Then the screen shifted. A human bridge appeared. Dark lighting, organized, silent. At the center stood Admiral Elias Ward, older now, calmer than ever. He looked directly into the camera. He did not smile. He did not shout. His voice was steady. "Members of the Galactic Council." The chamber froze. "You believed Earth had fallen." His eyes did not show anger, only certainty. "You celebrated." The Chancellor stepped forward. "This is impossible," he said. "Your fleet was destroyed." Admiral Ward nodded slightly. "Yes, the fleet you saw was destroyed." Murmurs filled the chamber. "That fleet was meant to be seen," Ward continued. "It served its purpose." The meaning hit them slowly. This had been planned. The Chancellor's hands tightened. "You allowed your own world to burn?" Ward answered without hesitation. "We allowed you to believe it burned." Silence. "Returned," Ward continued speaking. "While you watched our cities fall, we moved our people. While you declared victory, we built this." The camera view shifted briefly. Behind him, through a large window, endless rows of human warships could be seen stretching across space. Ward looked back at the council. "You believed humanity was emotional, weak, divided. He paused. You were wrong. Inside the council chamber, some leaders began whispering fearfully. This is a threat, one said. Ward shook his head slowly. No. His voice became colder. This is a correction. Outside, the fleet adjusted its formation. Ships aligned perfectly around the planet, not attacking, just holding position. Complete control of orbit. The communications officer checked the data again. Multiple additional warp signatures detected, he said quietly. The Chancellor's eyes widened. There's more? Yes, the officer replied. On the far side of the system, another wave of human ships appeared. Smaller, faster. Strike vessels. The truth became impossible to deny. Earth's fall had been a performance, and now, the final act was beginning. Admiral. Ward's voice filled the chamber one last time. You ended the war too early. He leaned slightly closer to the screen. We did not. The transmission ended. The screens returned to the image of the human fleet surrounding the capital world. No weapons fired, no explosions, just silence. Heavy, terrifying silence. The Chancellor whispered to himself, we did not defeat them. Outside, the stars were still hidden behind human ships, and more were arriving. The human fleet did not move. It did not fire. It did not send smaller attack ships. It simply stayed in position around the Council's capital world. That silence was worse than war. Inside the Grand Council Hall, no one sat anymore. Leaders stood, in small groups, whispering in fear. Military commanders shouted orders into devices. Security forces ran across the floor, but outside the window, the human ships remained perfectly still, like predators waiting. The Supreme Chancellor finally spoke. Open full communication channels, he ordered. All frequencies. Within seconds, every communication system in the chamber activated. Static filled the air. Then, the main screen turned black. A single white light appeared in the center. It slowly grew brighter. Then the bridge of the human flagship appeared again. Admiral. Elias Ward stood there, hands behind his back. His officers stood in silence around him. No one looked afraid. No one looked excited. They looked ready. The Chancellor stepped forward. You surround our world with warships, he said. Is this your idea of peace? Ward answered calmly. You surrounded ours first. The words hit the chamber like a strike. The Chancellor's jaw tightened. You lost that battle. Ward's eyes did not change. Yes, he said. We lost the battle you were meant to see. Silence followed. Ward continued. You believed destroying our cities would break us. You believed fear would make us kneel. He paused. Instead, it made us focus. On the screen behind Ward, a tactical display appeared. It showed the capital world in the center. Around it, human ships formed layers of defense. Then the display expanded. It showed nearby systems. Every hyperspace exit point was blocked by human vessels, every escape route covered. The chamber grew colder. We are not attacking your civilians, Ward said. We are not bombing your cities. He leaned slightly forward. But understand this clearly. The lights on the human ships outside grew brighter. Weapons. Systems activated, not firing, but fully charged. We control this system. A military commander inside the council chamber slammed his fist onto a console. This is an act of war. Ward shook his head slowly. No, war was your act. The commander shouted, fire on them now. But before the order could be sent, every alien weapon system across the capital world suddenly shut down. Completely. Defense cannons powered off. Orbital stations went dark. Missile arrays froze. Inside the chamber, screens flashed red. System breach. Technicians yelled. How is this possible? Another officer shouted. Ward answered before anyone asked him. We studied your technology for years, he said calmly. You thought humans were primitive. He allowed a small pause. We learned from you. Panic spread fast. The council had just realized something terrifying. The human fleet was not just strong in numbers, it was stronger in knowledge. The Chancellor looked around the chamber. His voice was lower now. What do you want? Ward did not answer immediately. Instead, another image appeared on the screen. Recordings, secret council meetings, private conversations. Messages sent between high-ranking leaders months before the war. Clear proof. The council had planned Earth's destruction long before humans attacked anything. Gasps filled the hall. You lied to your own citizens, Ward said quietly. You told them humanity was aggressive. You told them Earth was preparing invasion. He looked directly at the Chancellor. But you attacked first. The Chancellor's face darkened. That is classified information. Not anymore, Ward replied. At that moment, across the galaxy, billions of screens activated. Human ships broadcasted the recordings to every system, every colony, every neutral world. The truth spread faster than fear. Inside the chamber, some ambassadors stepped back from the Chancellor. You said humans attacked our borders, one of them whispered. The Chancellor did not answer. Ward continued. You thought if the galaxy believed we were the threat, no one would defend us. He paused again. You were almost right. The human fleet outside shifted slightly. A new formation began. Massive ships moved into lower orbit. The shadow across the planet grew deeper. The young communications officer checked new readings. Energy. Spike detected, he said nervously. Are they firing? Someone asked. No, he replied slowly. They are deploying something. From the underside of several large human ships, smaller objects began to descend toward space around the capital world. They were not missiles. They were not bombs. They were satellites. Defense satellites. They formed a protective grid around the planet. The council stared in confusion. Ward explained. We are not here to destroy your civilians, he said again. We are here to prevent you from hiding behind them. The meaning became clear. If any faction inside the council tried to launch secret weapons or escape pods, humans would see it. Control without destruction, power without chaos. A senior military leader stepped forward. You cannot hold this position forever, he said angrily. Other factions will respond. Ward nodded. They already have. The main screen shifted again. Several distant systems appeared. More human fleets exiting warp. Strategic locations across council space were now blocked. Not invaded. Blocked. Humanity had not attacked blindly. They had calculated every move. The Chancellor's voice trembled slightly for the first time. If you do not want destruction, then what is your purpose? Ward looked at him carefully. For justice. The word echoed in the silent chamber. You will publicly admit the truth, Ward continued. You will step down from your positions, and you will sign a treaty recognizing humanity as an equal power. A loud protest rose inside the hall. This is humiliation, someone shouted. Ward's eyes hardened slightly. No, he said. Humiliation is celebrating the death of billions. The chamber fell silent again. Ward gave one final warning. You have 1 hour to respond. He straightened his uniform. If you attempt any attack, any hidden strike, any escape, the lights on the human ships outside intensified. This fleet will not remain patient. The transmission ended. Inside the Grand Council Hall, fear had fully replaced pride. 1 hour, 60 minutes to decide the future of the galaxy. The Chancellor looked at the dark sky beyond the window. Human ships still blocked the stars, still silent, still waiting. But as the Council argued loudly among themselves, deep in space beyond even the human fleet, a faint new signal appeared, unknown, unidentified, watching, and closer than anyone realized. The countdown had begun. 1 hour. Inside the Grand Council Hall, leaders argued loudly. Some demanded surrender, others demanded resistance. Fear mixed with pride, and pride made dangerous decisions. Outside, the human fleet remained still. 40 minutes passed. 30. 25. Then, a secret order was given, not by the Chancellor, not publicly, but by High Commander Rethan of the Inner Defense Fleet. He did not believe in surrender, he believed in strength. If we strike first, he said to his officers in a hidden command room, we break their confidence, cut off the head, destroy their flagship. His officers hesitated. Their fleet is too large. Rethan's eyes narrowed. Then we make an example. Deep beneath the capital planet's surface, something powered on. A weapon the Council never revealed. A planet core cannon, built for one purpose: total destruction of enemy fleets. Energy began gathering at the planet's center. The ground trembled, slightly. Citizens did not understand why. In orbit, human scanners detected the change instantly. On the bridge of the human flagship, warning symbols appeared. Massive energy surge detected inside planetary core. A human officer reported, Admiral, Ward did not panic. Source? Unknown weapon system, charging rapidly. How long? Less than 2 minutes. The officers looked at him, waiting. Ward's face remained calm. So they chose, he said quietly. Outside, several human ships adjusted position. Not retreating, not advancing, preparing. Inside the council chamber, the Chancellor felt something was wrong. What is happening? He demanded. But before anyone could answer, a beam of blinding white energy exploded from the surface of the planet. It shot straight toward the human flagship. The light was so bright it turned space white. Gasps filled the chamber. Some leaders smiled in relief. Yes, someone shouted. The beam struck the flagship directly. For a second, nothing could be seen, just light, just power. Then, the light faded. The human flagship was still there. A glowing shield surrounded it. The massive beam bent around the ship like water around stone, not a single scratch. Silence. The shield shimmered once, then disappeared. On the bridge, Admiral Ward looked at the damage report. Minimal energy absorption, an officer confirmed. Shield integrity at 98%. Ward nodded once. Disable the weapon. Outside, 3 human cruisers moved forward. They did not fire large cannons. Instead, thin blue pulses shot toward the planet's surface. Precise, controlled, deep. Underground, the planet core cannon shut down instantly, its systems fried, its energy drained. No explosion, no destruction of the city above it, just silence. Back in the council chamber, horror spread. They neutralized it, someone whispered. High Commander Rethan slammed his fist against his console. Impossible. But it was not impossible. It was calculated. Suddenly, every screen in the chamber activated again. Admiral Ward appeared. You were given 1 hour, he said calmly. You chose violence. The Chancellor looked shocked. I did not order that attack. Ward studied him. I know. The words surprised everyone. We monitored your internal channels, Ward continued. The order came from Commander Rethan. All eyes turned toward Rethan's location marker on the system display. Before anyone could react, human strike ships warped directly above the hidden command base where Rethan stood. Not destroying the city, not bombing civilians, just surrounding the military structure. Inside the underground base, alarms screamed. Rethan looked up at the ceiling as the power flickered. Then everything went dark. Human boarding units entered silently. No explosions, no mass killing. Within minutes, Commander Rethan was captured, alive. Back in the council chamber, Ward spoke again. We do not seek chaos. We remove threats. A pause. Your citizens are not our enemy. Outside, something unexpected happened. From the far side of the system, another fleet entered warp. But these ships were not human. They were Council Outer Rim forces returning. From patrol, hundreds of warships, their commander saw the human blockade and did not hesitate. All ships attack formation. Missiles launched, energy cannons fired. Space filled with light. The human fleet responded instantly, but not with destruction. Human ships moved with perfect coordination. Their formation shifted like flowing water. Missiles were intercepted mid-flight. Energy beams were absorbed by layered shields. Then human drones launched. Thousands of small craft moved faster than anything the Council had seen before. Within minutes, every attacking warship lost power, engines shut down, Weapons systems offline, communication blocked. The ships floated helplessly in space. Not destroyed, defeated. The battle lasted less than 6 minutes. Inside the Grand Council Hall, no one spoke. They had just watched their fleet collapse without a single explosion, without mass death, just control. Admiral Ward appeared once more. "This is your final demonstration." His voice was calm, but stronger now. "If we wanted destruction, your planet would already be gone." He let the silence settle. "We are not here for revenge." Outside, human ships repositioned again, but this time, they turned their weapons outward, facing deep space, not the planet. The Chancellor noticed. "Why? Are they changing direction?" he asked quietly. Before Ward could answer, a massive distortion appeared at the edge of the system, larger than any warp signature before. Not human, not Council. Something else. Even the human fleet paused. Sensors across every ship lit up with warnings. Unknown. "Fleet entering system," a human officer reported. Size estimate began calculating. The number kept rising. Higher, higher. On the bridge, Admiral Ward narrowed his eyes slightly. Inside the council chamber, fear returned. The young communications officer whispered, "That signal. It was the same one detected earlier." The distortion grew wider. Dark shapes began to form inside, head bigger than both human and council ships. The Chancellor's voice trembled. "Who are they?" Ward looked at the incoming fleet. For the first time, his expression changed. Not fear, recognition, and concern. "They are not part of this war," Ward said quietly. The new fleet exited warp fully. Hundreds of massive vessels, ancient design, cold, watching, both sides. The human fleet slowly adjusted formation again, not attacking, preparing. And as the unknown ships spread across the edge of the system, every star behind them began to disappear. Again. The new fleet did not rush forward. It did not attack. It did not send a message. It simply arrived. And watched. The ships were massive. Each one was larger than the Council's largest war stations. Their surfaces were not smooth like human ships and not sharp like Council designs. They looked old, ancient, covered in strange lines that glowed with faint blue light. They formed a wide arc at the edge of the system, silent, still, observing. Inside the Grand Council Hall, fear turned into confusion. "Identify them," the Chancellor ordered. Technicians worked quickly. No match in Council database, no known faction signature, no translation code. The young communications officer checked deeper scans. His voice was low. "Their energy output. It is beyond anything we have recorded." Even the disabled Council warships drifting in orbit remained quiet. No one dared to fire now. On the human flagship, Admiral Elias Ward stood at the main display. "Signal. Analysis?" he asked. A human intelligence officer answered. "Confirmed. They are the same observers we tracked years ago in deep space." Ward nodded slowly. "So they finally show themselves." Around him, younger officers looked confused. "You knew about them?" one asked. Ward kept his eyes on the ancient fleet. "We knew something was watching us," he said. "Long before this war. Years earlier, during humanity's first expansion beyond nearby systems, strange signals were detected. Ships traveling near the edge of explored space reported shadows in warp tunnels. Probes disappeared without explanation, but no attack ever came, just observation. Human scientists believed it was an unknown advanced race. Waiting. Studying. Humanity did not tell the Council. They prepared quietly. Now, those watchers had arrived, in full strength. Inside the Council chamber, panic returned. "Are they allied with the humans?" one ambassador whispered. The Chancellor looked at the human fleet outside. "They are not firing on each other," he said. That was true. The human fleet had not attacked the new arrivals, but they had repositioned, not toward the Council planet, toward the ancient ships. Human warships formed defensive layers, protective, alert. The message was clear. If the newcomers attacked, humanity would respond. Suddenly, every communication system in the system activated at once, not hacked, not overridden, activated. A deep sound filled the air. It was not a voice at first. It was like metal moving through water. Then the sound shaped into language. Clear, calm, ancient, emerging species, humanity. The voice echoed across every ship, every station, every city below. On the human flagship, officers exchanged tense looks. The voice continued. You were tested. Inside the council chamber, no one breathed. Your destruction was permitted, the voice said. Your survival was observed. The chancellor's eyes widened. Permitted, he whispered. The voice ignored him. We have watched many civilizations rise. Images appeared in space itself, massive holographic projections created by the ancient fleet. Worlds burning, empires collapsing, fleets destroyed. We remove those who threaten balance, the voice explained. Cold, emotionless. You were evaluated. On the human bridge, Ward's jaw tightened slightly. One of his officers whispered, So this war. Yes, Ward said quietly. They allowed it. The voice continued. You chose restraint. Images shifted. They showed the human fleet, disabling ships instead of destroying them, capturing Commander Rethan alive, protecting civilians. You did not seek extinction. A pause. You may continue. The meaning spread slowly through the system. The ancient race had been judging humanity. If humans had chosen total destruction, if they had burned the council world in revenge, they might have been erased. Inside, the council chamber, horror filled every face. We were part of their test? One leader whispered. The voice finally acknowledged the council. You initiated conflict from fear. Images of secret council meetings appeared. Their plans to destroy Earth early, you destabilized the region. The ancient ships shifted slightly. Energy built along their hulls. For imbalance, correction is required. Fear exploded in the chamber. They will destroy us, someone shouted. On the human flagship, Admiral Ward stepped forward. Open, channel, he ordered. A human signal pushed through the system. Ancient observers, Ward said calmly. Humanity accepts your judgment. He paused. But the Council will answer for their actions through treaty and reform, not extinction. Silence followed. The ancient fleet did not respond immediately. Ward continued. If you remove every flawed civilization, none will survive long enough to grow. A bold statement. Risky. Even some human officers looked shocked. Ward did not stop. Balance is not created by fear. It is created by choice. The system felt frozen. The ancient voice returned. You challenge our method. Yes, Ward answered, simply. Another long silence. Then, the energy building on the ancient ships slowly faded. Humanity demonstrates independent reasoning, the voice said. A final pause. Council leadership must change. Supervised restructuring will occur. The Chancellor collapsed into his seat. The ancient fleet turned slightly, not attacking, not retreating, just repositioning to observe. The message was clear. The Council would not be destroyed, but they would never rule the same way again. Inside the chamber, leaders looked at one another in shock. Humanity had not only survived, they had spoken against an ancient power and lived. On the human bridge, a young officer asked quietly, Did we just stop them? Ward looked at the fading glow on the ancient ships. For now, he said. Outside, the human fleet remained strong. The ancient fleet remained watching, and the galaxy understood something new. Earth was never weak. Earth was never just another species. Humanity had survived the Council, and now they had passed the judgment of something far older. But as calm slowly returned, Deep inside one of the ancient vessels, a different energy signal began forming. Hidden, unseen, and this time, it was not a test. The system was quiet again. Human ships held their positions. The ancient fleet waited at the edge of the stars. The council world floated in the center, surrounded by forces greater than it had ever imagined. For a moment, it seemed the crisis was over. But inside one of the ancient vessels, something had changed. A signal moved through their network. Silent. Hidden. A disagreement. Not all of the ancient beings agreed with the decision to spare the council. Not all believed humanity should continue growing. To some of them, growth always led to chaos, and chaos always led to destruction. So one ancient commander made a choice. If humanity was strong, then humanity must be removed before it became unstoppable. Without warning, one of the largest ancient ships began to glow. Energy gathered along its surface, brighter than before. On the human flagship, alarms activated instantly. Massive power. "Surge detected," a human officer shouted. "Origin?" Admiral Ward asked sharply. "Ancient vessel designation unknown. Weapon charging." Outside, the glowing ship moved forward slightly. Its energy was not aimed at the council world. It was aimed at the human fleet. Inside the council chamber, leaders watched in horror. "They are attacking the humans," someone cried. The chancellor felt cold. "If the humans fall now, we are next." On the human bridge, Ward acted quickly. All fleets, defensive formation Gamma. Human ships shifted instantly. Layers of shields overlapped. Strike cruisers moved to intercept positions. The ancient vessel released its weapon. A beam unlike any seen before tore through space. It was not simple energy. It bent space itself. Stars behind it twisted. Time felt slower near its path. The beam struck the outer line of the human fleet. For a moment, everything disappeared in white light. Several human ships vanished completely, not exploded. Gone. Silence filled every channel. Inside the human bridge, officers stared at their screens. 3 ships lost, someone whispered. Ward closed his eyes for half a second. Then he opened them. "Target that vessel," he ordered. The human fleet did not panic. They did not scatter. They focused. Thousands of ships locked onto the single ancient attacker, but they did not fire randomly. Instead, something unexpected happened. The large human flagship moved forward. Alone. It broke formation. "Admiral?" an officer asked in shock. Ward did not turn. "Prepare the core." Deep inside the flagship, a hidden system powered up. Not a cannon, not a bomb, a signal array. Years earlier, when humans first detected the ancient observers, they had studied their energy patterns. They learned how their systems communicated, how their power flowed. Humanity did not build a bigger weapon. They built a mirror. The flagship released a focused pulse toward the attacking ancient vessel. It was not destructive. It was precise. The pulse struck the glowing areas along the ancient hull. For a second, nothing happened. Then the glow flickered. The weapon beam collapsed mid-charge. Energy flowed backward into the ancient ship. Inside that vessel, systems overloaded, not destroyed, but disabled. The massive ship drifted slowly, power fading. The rest of the ancient fleet reacted instantly. They surrounded the disabled vessel. Energy fields formed around it. Then, the ancient voice returned to the system. "Unauthorized action detected." The tone was colder now. "Internal command violation." Inside the council chamber, no one moved. On the human bridge, Ward stood firm. "We defended ourselves," he said calmly. There was no anger in his voice, only truth. A long silence followed. Then the ancient voice spoke again. "Humanity adapts, rapidly." Another pause. "You countered superior force without escalation." The disabled ancient vessel was pulled back into formation. Its glow completely gone. Correction has been applied. The message was clear. The ancient commander who attacked had been stopped by his own kind. The test had not been over. It had simply grown harder. The ancient fleet slowly shifted position. This time, not in threat, but in respect. Humanity has demonstrated restraint, strategy, balance. The voice echoed across every world listening. You will not be removed. Inside the council chamber, many leaders lowered their heads. They understood now. Humanity had not won through anger. They had won through control. The ancient fleet began to turn away from the system. Before leaving, one final message was sent. Humanity, the galaxy is unstable. Greater storms approach. You will be needed. The ancient ships entered warp, one by one, until the edge of the system was clear again. Only the human fleet remained, and the quiet council world. Inside the Grand Council Hall, no one cheered. No one celebrated. The Chancellor slowly stood. He looked at the human ships still surrounding them. We were wrong, he said quietly. On the human flagship, Ward opened a final channel. This war ends now, he said. You will step down. A new council will be formed, one built on equal voice. He paused. Humanity will not rule you. A soft murmur spread inside the chamber, but we will never be underestimated again. Outside, the human fleet began to move. Slowly, in perfect order, ships pulled away from orbit. Defense satellites remained behind, forming a protective grid around the system. Not a prison, a reminder. As the last human warship prepared to jump to warp, the young communications officer in the council chamber whispered something no one expected. They celebrated Earth's fall. He looked at the now clear stars, but the stars chose humanity. The human fleet vanished into warp. The galaxy was different now, not because Earth had conquered it, but because Earth had proven something stronger than power, patience, and control. And somewhere, far beyond known space, new signals were rising. The Bimar, greater storm the ancients warned about, was already moving. And this time, humanity would not wait in silence. They would be ready.